The lights in the council chamber were bright, almost too bright. Kira Voss stood at the center of the massive room, her hands shaking slightly as she held the data pad. Around her, representatives from 247 different species sat in curved rows that rose up like a giant amphitheater. Some had scales, others had fur. Some breathed oxygen, others floated in special gas chambers. But they all looked at her the same way, like she was crazy. These structures, Kira said, her voice echoing through the chamber, are over 5,000 years old. The language patterns, the mathematical constants, the architectural style, everything points to a single conclusion. Humanity existed. They were real. The hologram above her head showed images of ruins, crumbling buildings on a dead world, strange symbols carved into stone, artifacts that didn't match any known civilization. High Counselor Thexivor leaned forward in his seat. He was a Valkyrian, tall and thin with purple skin that seemed to shimmer. His four eyes narrowed as he looked at Kira. "Dr. Voss," he said, his voice dripping with amusement. "Are you seriously presenting this fairy tale to the Millennium Assembly?" Laughter rippled through the chamber. Kira felt her face grow hot. "It's not a fairy tale," she insisted. "I have evidence. Chemical dating, linguistic analysis, genetic evidence of a species that never existed." Another counselor interrupted. This one was a Braxian, his voice coming through a translator that made it sound mechanical. "Young doctor, every child knows the story of the humans. They're myths, legends, like the Skywalkers or the first singers. Stories we tell to make ourselves feel small and the universe feel mysterious." More laughter. Kira's colleague, Professor Moldar, stood up from his seat in the visitors' gallery. He was an Asheri, his silver skin gleaming under the lights. "Honored Council," he said smoothly, "I apologize for my student's enthusiasm. Dr. Voss is young and passionate, but she lacks the experience to recognize religious mythology when she sees it. I'm not your student anymore," Kira snapped. "And this isn't mythology." She pressed a button on her data pad. The hologram changed, showing star maps. "I found these coordinates in 6 different locations across the galaxy. They all point to the same place, a region in the Forbidden Zone. If humans were real, if they had a civilization, they would have left something behind. A library, a vault, something to prove they existed." Ambassador Zintara, an Asheri diplomat with kind eyes, leaned forward. "Dr. Voss," she said gently, "the Forbidden Zone is called Forbidden for a reason. Hundreds of ships have been lost there. The spatial anomalies alone—" "I know the risks," Kira said. "But don't you want to know? Don't any of you want to know if the legends are true?" Thexivor stood up, his tall frame commanding attention. "This council has heard enough. Dr. Voss, your theories are nothing but wishful thinking and bad science. Humanity never existed. The so-called evidence you present has been examined and dismissed by real scholars for centuries." He gestured to Professor Moldar. "Your own mentor has spent his career proving these myths false, because he's afraid of the truth." Kira shouted. The chamber erupted in noise. Some counselors laughed. Others shook their heads or made gestures of disapproval. Kira felt her heart pounding. This was going wrong. This was all going wrong. Thexivor raised his hand for silence. "This assembly has made its decision. Effective immediately, all texts referring to humans as a historical species will be reclassified as religious or mythological documents. Dr. Voss, your research funding is revoked. Your academic credentials will be reviewed." "You can't do that," Kira protested. "We just did," Thexivor said coldly. "You have 30 cycles to present concrete, undeniable proof of human existence. If you cannot, you will be stripped of your position and barred from academic research. This hearing is dismissed." The gavel came down with a sharp crack. Kira stood frozen as the counselors began to leave. Some glanced at her with pity, others with contempt. Professor Moldar walked past her without a word, though she saw something strange in his eyes. Was it guilt, fear? Only Ambassador Zintara approached her. "I'm sorry, child," she said softly. "I know you believe, but the council fears what they don't understand. They fear the idea that we might be less important than we think." "You believe me," Kira said. "It wasn't a question." Zintara smiled sadly. "My people have old stories, very old. Stories about beings who came from a blue world and taught us to reach for the stars. But stories aren't proof." She touched Kira's shoulder. "Be careful. Some truths are dangerous." Then she was gone too, and Kira stood alone in the empty chamber. She left the building and walked through the streets of Council Station. The city was beautiful, all gleaming towers and flowing bridges. Ships came and went overhead, carrying people from 100 different worlds. She had grown up on a frontier colony, a dusty backwater planet. This place had always seemed like a dream to her. Now it felt like a cage. She reached her small apartment and collapsed on the couch. Her datapad beeped. Messages flooded in. Her university had officially terminated her position. Her colleagues were distancing themselves. Even her friends were suggesting she get help. But one message stood out. It was anonymous, encrypted. It contained only coordinates and a name. Rust Dancer, Doc 47. Kira stared at the message for a long time. She knew what it meant. Someone was offering her a ride. A ride to the Forbidden Zone. She thought about her life. She had been found as a baby on colony designation 447, the only survivor of a crashed ship. No one knew where she came from. The colony director had raised her, but she had always felt different. She had dreams sometimes. Strange dreams of blue skies and green grass and animals she had never seen. Dreams of a word, Earth. When she was 16, she found a data fragment in an old junk shop. It was ancient, nearly destroyed, but she managed to recover one file. It showed an image of beings that looked almost like her. 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs. The file was labeled Human Homo sapiens Earth. That was when she knew. She wasn't alone. Her people had existed. They were real, and she was going to prove it. Kira grabbed her bag and started packing. She didn't have much. Clothes, research equipment, what little money she had saved. She downloaded all her research onto encrypted drives and wiped her computer. Then she headed for Dock 47. The docks were in the lower levels of the station. Where the air smelled like fuel and the lights flickered, she found the Rust Dancer easily enough. It was an old cargo ship, battered and scarred, but it looked like it could fly, and right now that was all that mattered. A Korthan stood at the loading ramp. He was short and muscular, with gray skin and small horns. His name was Jax, according to the ship's registry. "You the crazy archaeologist?" he asked. "I prefer determined," Kira said. Jax grinned, showing sharp teeth. "Determined, crazy, dead, it's all the same in the Forbidden Zone. You got money?" "Some. It'll cost you everything you have." "I know. And you still want to go?" Kira looked up at the stars visible through the dock's open bay. Somewhere out there was the truth. Somewhere out there was proof that her people had lived, had loved, had mattered. "Yes," she said. "I still want to go." Jax shrugged. "Your funeral? Welcome aboard the Rust Dancer." The Rust Dancer smelled like oil and old socks. Kira followed Jax through narrow corridors, ducking under low pipes and stepping over scattered tools. The ship groaned and creaked as they moved, which she tried not to think about too much. "This is Pip," Jax said, gesturing to a young engineer working on an open panel. Pip was a Rixian, small and blue with 6 fingers on each hand. They looked up and waved, grease covering their face. "That's Serana," Jax continued, pointing to a tall woman cleaning a large gun. She was Korthan like Jax, but her horns were longer and she had scars across her arms. She didn't wave. "And that's Nyx," Jax finished, pointing to a screen where a digital face appeared. The AI's voice was pleasant and calm. "Welcome aboard, Dr. Voss," Nyx said. "I've calculated 73 possible routes through the Forbidden Zone. Our survival probability is 11%. "That's not encouraging," Kira said. "It's better than most," Jax replied.
"Now you said you have coordinates?"
Kira pulled out her datapad and transferred the information. The crew gathered around the holographic display, studying the star maps. The coordinates pointed to a dead system deep in the Forbidden Zone, a place where space itself seemed to break down. "That's suicide," Serana said flatly. "That's where we're going," Kira replied. Pip looked up from their work. "Why? What's so important about some old ruins?" Kira hesitated. Then she told them everything. About humans, about the myths, about her dreams and her research, about being found as a baby in a crashed ship, about spending her whole life trying to find where she came from. When she finished, the crew was quiet. "So you think humans built something out there?" Jax asked. "Something valuable?" "I think they built a vault," Kira said. "A place to store their knowledge, their history, their culture. If I can find it, I can prove they existed. And if you prove they existed," Jax said slowly, "that technology would be worth billions, maybe trillions." Kira's jaw tightened. "I'm not doing this for money. Good, Jack said. Because we are, he grinned. But your money got us here, so we'll get you there. After that, we split whatever we find. Deal? Kira didn't like it, but she needed them. Deal. The journey took 12 days. The Forbidden Zone earned its name quickly. Space seemed wrong here. Colors shifted in ways that hurt to look at. Gravity fluctuated randomly. Nix had to recalculate their route constantly, dodging anomalies that could tear the ship apart. During the journey, Kira spent her time in the cargo bay that Jax had cleared for her. She spread out all her research, connecting pieces of the puzzle she'd been working on for years. Old texts that mentioned humans. Archaeological finds that didn't match any known species. Chemical signatures in ancient ruins that suggested technology far beyond what any current civilization possessed. Pip visited her often, fascinated by the research. My people have legends too, they said one day. Stories about teachers who came from the stars and showed us how to build ships. We always thought they were just stories. Maybe they weren't, Kira said. Serana was less friendly. She watched Kira with suspicious eyes, her hand always near her weapon. One night, she cornered Kira in the corridor. I ran your genetic profile, Serana said. The medical scanner did it automatically. You know what it found? Kira's heart raced. What? Nothing. Your DNA doesn't match any species in the database. Not perfectly. You're close to a dozen different species, but not quite any of them. Serana leaned closer.
What are you?
I don't know, Kira admitted. That's what I'm trying to find out. On the 10th day, Jax called everyone to the bridge. The view screen showed a dead star system ahead. 3 planets orbited a dying red dwarf, but between the second and third planet something massive floated in space. Is that it? Pip whispered. Kira stepped closer to the screen, her breath catching. It was huge. A ring structure maybe 500 kilometers across. Its surface was dark, but even from this distance she could see patterns. Symbols, designs, art. That's it, she said. That's the vault. Nix, scan it, Jax ordered. Scanning, the AI replied. The structure is approximately 4,800 years old. Composition unknown. Power signature 0. It appears to be completely inactive. Dead then, Serana said. Or sleeping, Kira whispered. They approached slowly, carefully. The closer they got, the more details emerged. The vault was beautiful. Its surface was covered in images. Beings with 2 arms and 2 legs standing on a blue and green world. They built cities. They reached for the stars. They held hands with other species, teaching them, helping them. Those are humans, Kira said, her voice shaking. That's what they looked like. That's my people. Jax glanced at her. For the first time, he looked uncertain. You really are one of them, aren't you? I think so. They docked at an airlock on the ring's outer surface. Kira was the first one out, her feet touching the ancient metal. It was cold. So cold she could feel it through her boots. The symbols were clearer here, carved deep into the surface. She recognized some of them from her research. Others were completely new. The airlock is sealed, Pip said, examining the door. I don't see any way to open it. No power, no controls, nothing. Kira approached the door. Her hand reached out almost without thinking. Her fingers touched the cold metal. Nothing happened. Behind her, Serana laughed. Another dead end, just like everything else. But Kira kept her hand on the door. She closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw those dreams again. Blue skies, green grass. A word whispered in a language she didn't know but somehow understood. Home. Then light. Blue light spread from her hand, racing across the door in thin lines. The symbols began to glow. The light spread further, running across the entire surface of the ring. Millions of symbols all lighting up at once, turning the darkness into day. The crew stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Machinery deep inside the structure groaned to life. The airlock hissed, releasing air that had been trapped for thousands of years, and then a voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere in a language Kira had never heard but understood perfectly. Welcome home, daughter of Terra. The airlock opened. Kira stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, the crew stared in shock. Jax's mouth hung open. Pip's 6 fingers trembled. Even Serana looked frightened. What did it say? Jax asked. It said, welcome home, Kira whispered. She stepped forward toward the open door, toward the darkness beyond, toward answers. The interior of the vault was dark at first. Then lights began to activate one by one, stretching into the distance. They revealed a corridor so long Kira couldn't see the end. The walls were lined with screens all beginning to power up. Images flickered across them. Words in dozens of languages. Mathematical equations. Star charts, art and people. Images of people who looked like Kira. 2 arms, 2 legs, hair in different colors, skin in different shades. Smiling, laughing, living. Humans, she said. They were real. They were real. She walked forward into the vault and the crew followed. None of them spoke. What could they say? Everything they thought they knew about history, about the galaxy, about themselves, it was all wrong. The vault had been waiting. Waiting for someone to come home. Waiting for someone who carried the right DNA, the right genetic code. Waiting for a human. And now, after 5,000 years of silence, it was awake again. As they walked deeper into the structure, Kira felt something change inside her. This wasn't just about proving a theory anymore. This wasn't about academic credentials or being right. This was about finding her family, her people, her history. This was about finding herself. Above them, on the vault's surface, the symbols continued to glow. And deep in space, in systems far away, ancient sensors detected the signal. Things that had been sleeping began to wake. Some were good, but some were very, very bad. The corridor seemed endless. Kira and the crew walked for what felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes. The screens on the walls continued to display images and information, but it was all in languages none of them could read. Except Kira. Somehow, when she looked at the symbols, meanings formed in her mind, like her brain was remembering something it had never learned. This way, she said, turning down a side passage. She didn't know how she knew, but she was certain. They entered a massive chamber. It was circular, maybe 200 meters across, with a ceiling that stretched up so high it disappeared into darkness. In the center stood a platform, and above it a sphere of light pulsed gently. "What is that?" Pip asked, their voice echoing. Kira approached the platform. Words appeared in the air around the sphere, written in that strange language she could somehow read. "The Helix Archive," she translated. "The genetic record of humanity. A DNA database," Serana said. "That's what we risked our lives for?" "It's more than that," Kira said. She stepped onto the platform. Immediately, beams of light shot out from the sphere, scanning her from head to toe. The sensation was strange but not painful. Data streamed across the screens around the chamber, moving too fast for anyone but Nix to read. Then the voice spoke again, that same impossible language. "Match confirmed. Species Homo sapiens. Classification human. Genetic compatibility 99.97%. "Welcome home." Kira's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees on the platform, her whole body shaking. The crew rushed forward, but she held up a hand to stop them. "I'm okay," she said, though tears were streaming down her face. "I'm okay. I'm human. I'm actually human." Jax looked around the chamber at the data still streaming across the screens. "Nix, can you read any of this?" Attempting translation, the AI replied. "This archive contains genetic information for approximately 8 billion individuals. The last entries are dated 4,937 years ago. Galactic Standard Time." 8 billion, Pip whispered. There were 8 billion humans? Kira stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but her mind was clear. Clearer than it had ever been. "Show me," she said to the archive. "Show me what happened. Show me Earth." The sphere of light expanded, filling the entire chamber. Suddenly, they were standing on a world, a blue and green world with white clouds swirling above. Forests stretched to the horizon. Oceans sparkled in sunlight. Cities rose from the landscape, beautiful and clean, filled with people. It was a hologram, but it felt real. Kira could almost smell the air, feel the sun on her skin. "Earth," she said. "This is Earth." The hologram shifted. They saw humans building ships, reaching into space, discovering faster than light travel. They saw humans finding other worlds, other species. The crew watched in shock as the hologram showed the history they thought they knew, but from a different perspective. The Velcarians, primitive and struggling, living in caves. Then humans arrived, teaching them agriculture, science, mathematics. The Ashari, barely sapient, communicating in simple gestures. Humans showed them language, art, culture. The Korthan, the Rixians, the Braxians, species after species, all uplifted by humanity. "No," Jack said quietly. That's not right. We evolved naturally. Everyone knows that, did we? Sarana asked, her voice barely a whisper. She was watching her own people's history, seeing humans teaching ancient Korthan how to forge metal, how to build tools. The hologram continued. Humanity spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors but as teachers. They built libraries and universities. They shared their knowledge freely. They lifted up every species they found, helping them reach the stars. Then came the plague. The hologram showed it starting on a distant colony world. A sickness that spread impossibly fast, killing everything it touched. Not just humans, everything. Plants, animals, even bacteria. It turned worlds into dead rocks in weeks. The silence, Nick said, accessing historical files. Old records mention it. A galaxy-wide catastrophe that wiped out an ancient civilization, but the records never said which civilization. They watched as humanity fought the plague. Scientists worked desperately for a cure. Soldiers established quarantine zones. And when they realized they couldn't stop it, when they understood the silence would consume everything, humanity made a choice. The hologram showed humans evacuating other species first, loading them onto ships, teaching them how to survive, how to maintain their civilizations without human help. They gave away their technology, their knowledge, everything they had, and then they sealed themselves away. The hologram showed Earth and its colonies being surrounded by massive barriers of energy. Humanity had trapped themselves with the silence, contained it, prevented it from spreading. They sacrificed their entire species to save everyone else. Kira watched as the last human ships left Earth, carrying children in stasis pods. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands, scattered across the galaxy with one mission: survive. Remember, the sleeper ships, she said. I was on one of them. My ship must have crashed on Colony 447 when I was a baby. The hologram faded, leaving them standing in the dark chamber again. No one spoke. What could they say? Everything they knew was wrong. Their entire civilization had been built on a lie. The lie that they had achieved everything themselves. They saved us, Pip said finally. They saved everyone. And then we forgot them. We didn't just forget, Sarana said bitterly. We denied they ever existed. We mocked people like Kira who tried to remember. Jack sat down heavily on the platform edge. Why would the council hide this? Kira wiped her eyes. Because people don't want to believe they were created. They want to believe they earned their place in the galaxy. The council probably started as a conspiracy to hide the truth, and over time even they forgot it was a conspiracy. It just became fact. A new screen lit up on the wall. Data scrolled past, and Kira walked over to read it. Her eyes widened. There's more, she said. This vault isn't just an archive. It's a defensive station, and a beacon. When I activated it, I sent a signal across the entire galaxy. A signal saying what? Jax asked. Before Kira could answer, Nix interrupted. Warning! Multiple vessels detected approaching our position. Classification unknown. Configuration hostile. They ran back to the Rust Dancer. The view screen showed something terrifying. Ships were emerging from dark space, if they could be called ships. They looked more like creatures, all sharp angles and organic curves covered in weapons. What are those? Pip asked. Kira's blood went cold as she accessed the vault's database through a connection she didn't fully understand. Information flooded her mind. Harvesters, she said. Humanity built them to fight the silence. They were programmed to detect and destroy anything carrying human DNA to prevent the plague from spreading. But the plague is gone, Sarana said. It's been gone for thousands of years. They don't know that. They're still following their programming, and I just announced to the entire galaxy that there's a human here. Kira looked at the crew, her face pale. I've killed us all. The first harvester opened fire. The vault's shields activated automatically, but the Rust Dancer was outside the protection zone. Jax threw the ship into evasive maneuvers as weapons fire lit up space around them. We need to get inside the vault, Pip shouted. There's no way, Jax said. They'll shoot us down before we can dock again. Kira closed her eyes, reaching out with that strange new sense. She could feel the vault now, feel its systems like they were extensions of her own body. Hold on, she said, she thought, and the vault responded. Massive cannons emerged from the ring's surface, weapons that had been sleeping for 5,000 years. They fired, beams of pure energy cutting through space, hitting the harvesters with precision. But there were so many of them. For every one she destroyed, 2 more appeared. This is what humans built to protect the galaxy, Sarana said, watching the battle. Imagine what they could have built to conquer it. They never wanted to conquer, Kira said. They wanted to protect. A message appeared on the communications screen. It was from the Galactic Council, but not from HFY. Ambassador Zintara's face appeared. Dr. Voss, she said urgently, your broadcast reached every system in the galaxy. The Council knows where you are. Some want to help, others, she paused. HFY is bringing a fleet to destroy the vault and capture you. He's afraid of what humanity's return means. Please, you need to run. I can't run, Kira said. If I run, the harvesters will follow me. They'll destroy everything looking for me. Another voice came through the communication. It was Professor Maldar. Kira, he said, and his voice was heavy with something that might have been regret. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You were right about everything. Professor Maldar's face on the screen looked older than Kira remembered. Tired. I've known humans were real for 30 years, he said. I found proof when I was young, just like you. But I was afraid. Afraid of what it meant. So I buried it. And then I spent my career making sure no one else could find what I found. Why? Kira asked, her voice hard. Why would you do that? Because I thought I was protecting the galaxy, Maldar said. If people knew humans created us, uplifted us, saved us, what would that do to our civilizations? We built everything on the idea that we earned our place in the stars. That lie gave us pride, purpose, identity. The truth would destroy that. The truth would set us free, Kira shot back. Maybe. Or maybe it would enslave us to the past. Moldar looked away. But I was wrong. I see that now. Kira, you're not the only human. There are others. 47 that I know of. I've been tracking them, watching them, making sure they stayed hidden. Kira's breath caught. Where are they? Scattered. Most don't even know what they are. But there's one nearby. On Council Station. I can send you her location. The screen went dark. A moment later, coordinates appeared. Kira stared at them, her mind racing. She wasn't alone. She had never been alone, but there was no time to think about it. The harvesters were getting closer. More council ships were arriving too, and these weren't friendly. The fleet led by High Counselor HFY took up positions around the vault, weapons charging. Multiple targeting locks detected, Nix reported. Both the harvesters and the council fleet are preparing to fire. We're caught between two enemies, Jack said. Any brilliant ideas? Kira accessed the vault systems again. Information flooded her mind. Technical specifications, defensive capabilities, historical records. And something else. Something buried deep in the archive. A protocol called Emergency Override Gamma. There's a way to stop the harvesters, she said slowly. A shutdown code built into their programming. But it requires a human consciousness to activate it. A living human has to interface directly with the command network. So we plug you in and send the code? Pip asked hopefully. It's not that simple. Kira pulled up the technical details. The interface will burn out my neural pathways. I'll be alive, but different. I won't be me anymore. Serana grabbed her arm. Then we find another way. There is no other way, Kira said. If we don't stop them, the harvesters will destroy every world looking for human DNA. They'll kill billions. Then let them, Jack said harshly. You don't owe the galaxy anything, especially not after how they treated you. Kira looked at him, surprised. You'd let everyone die? To save my crew? Yes, Jax's jaw was tight. We've been out here risking our lives while the rest of the galaxy sat comfortable and safe. Why should we sacrifice for them? Because that's what humans did, Kira said softly. They sacrificed everything to save people who didn't even know they needed saving. Maybe that's what being human means. Before anyone could respond, the vault shook. The council fleet had opened fire. The shields held, but barely. Then the harvesters attacked too, their weapons tearing into the ancient station. Shields at 40%, Nix reported. We cannot sustain this assault much longer. Pip looked at their instruments, hands flying over the controls. Wait, I found something in the vault system. There's a way to distribute the consciousness across multiple nodes instead of destroying it. Kira would exist as a digital entity, spread across every human facility in the galaxy. I'd be an AI, Kira asked. More than that? Less than that? Different? Pip chewed their lip. You'd be everywhere and nowhere. You could communicate, think, even learn, but you wouldn't be physical anymore. That's not living, Serana said. But it's not dying either, Kira replied. She thought about it. Thought about all the humans who had sacrificed themselves 5,000 years ago. They had given up everything, their lives, their world, their future, to save species they barely knew. Could she do less? There's a third option, she said suddenly. What if we don't stop the harvesters? What if we reprogram them? Jax frowned. Reprogram killing machines? They were designed to protect the galaxy from the silence. But the silence is gone. We could give them a new purpose. Kira pulled up the harvester programming. It was complex, but she could understand it. Her human brain seemed naturally compatible with human technology. We make them protectors again. Guardians. They patrol the galaxy, help ships in distress, defend against threats. Can you do that? Pip asked. I think so. But I still need to interface with them, and I still risk losing myself. The vault shook again, harder this time. Alarms blared. Shields at 15%, Nick said. Decision time, everyone. Kira looked at her crew. These people who had started as mercenaries had become friends. Family, even. I'm going to do it, she said. But I need you to promise me something. If this works, if I reprogram the harvesters and survive, tell people the truth. Tell them about humanity. Show them the archive. Don't let them forget again. We promise, Jack said. The others nodded. Kira walked to the command center, a chamber deep in the heart of the vault. It was a circular room with a chair in the middle, surrounded by glowing cables. She sat down, and the cables moved like living things, attaching to her head, her arms, her spine. The pain was immediate and intense. She screamed. The crew rushed forward, but she held up a hand. Don't stop it, her consciousness expanded. Suddenly, she was in 1,000 places at once. She could see through the harvester's sensors, feel their weapons charging, understand their programming. They were hunting her, driven by an ancient imperative to destroy the plague. But she was human, and humans had built them. She spoke to them in their own language, a language of code and mathematics and pure logic. The silence is gone, she told them. Your mission is complete. I am your creator's daughter. I am giving you a new mission. Protect, defend, guard the galaxy and everyone in it. The harvesters hesitated. Their programming fought against her commands. But she was persistent, patient, carefully rewriting their core directives. It felt like trying to move a mountain with her bare hands. Outside, the council fleet fired again. Thexavor's voice came over the communication channel. This ends now. That vault contains technology too dangerous to exist. The human will be captured and studied. Fire all weapons. But then something unexpected happened. Other ships appeared. Lots of them. Ships from 100 different worlds. Civilian vessels, merchant freighters, even some military ships bearing insignias from council member species. Ambassador Zintara's voice rang out. High Counselor, this is Ambassador Zintara of the Ashari Collective. I am formally challenging your authority. Dr. Voss's broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. Everyone has seen the truth. Humanity existed. They saved us. They created us, and you've spent centuries hiding it. More voices joined in. Captains and diplomats, citizens and soldiers. The galaxy had seen the vault's transmission. They had seen the truth and they were angry. Stand down, Thexvor, another voice said. Kira recognized it through the haze of pain. Professor Moldar. It's over. The truth is out. Fighting it will only make things worse. Inside Kira's mind, the battle continued. She was winning, slowly, reprogramming the harvesters one by one. But it was taking too long. Her body was failing. She could feel her heart struggling, her brain burning. Kira! Jax's voice seemed to come from far away. Kira, your vitals are critical. You need to stop. Almost done, she gasped. One more harvester. Just one more. She pushed harder, ignoring the pain, ignoring the darkness creeping into the edges of her vision. The harvester fought back, its programming resistant, but she was human and humans didn't give up. With a final effort, she overwrote the last line of code. The harvesters stopped attacking. In perfect unison, they powered down their weapons and moved into defensive positions around the vault. Their new programming was simple. Protect life. Prevent harm. Serve all species. Kira slumped in the chair, the cables detaching. Jax caught her as she fell. Did it work? She whispered. It worked, he said. And she heard something in his voice she'd never heard before. Respect. maybe even awe. You did it. You crazy, brilliant human. You did it, Kira smiled weakly. Not bad for a species that never existed. Then everything went black. Kira woke up 3 days later in the medical bay of the vault. Her body ached in ways she didn't know were possible, but she was alive. More importantly, she was still herself. She could remember who she was, where she came from, everything that had happened. Pip sat beside her bed, dozing. When Kira stirred, the young engineer's eyes snapped open. "You're awake," they shouted, then covered their mouth. "Sorry, you're awake," they repeated more quietly. "We weren't sure you'd... the doctor said your neural activity was strange but functional and..." "Pip," Kira said, her voice rough. "I'm okay." What happened? What had happened, she learned over the next hour, was everything. Her broadcast had reached every inhabited system in the galaxy. Billions of people had seen the truth about humanity. They saw the historical records, the genetic evidence, the proof that humans had uplifted nearly every spacefaring species. The reaction was complicated. Some people celebrated, grateful to learn about their benefactors. Others felt angry or betrayed, uncomfortable with the idea that they hadn't evolved naturally. Many were simply confused. But everyone wanted answers. The Galactic Council had collapsed. High Counselor Thexvor was under arrest, along with dozens of other officials who had known the truth and hidden it. Ambassador Zintara was leading the formation of a new governing body, one based on truth instead of lies. And the humans were coming out of hiding. 47 confirmed so far, Jax told her when he visited. Moldar's list was accurate. Most are older than you. Some are younger. All of them thought they were alone. He paused. "They're coming here. To the vault. To Terra Station." "Terra Station?" Kira asked. "That's what everyone's calling it now." The vault's official name, apparently, was Terra Archive and Defense Station. Terra is the old human name for Earth. Kira absorbed this information. 47 humans. It wasn't 8 billion, but it was a start. Maybe with time their numbers would grow. Maybe humanity had a future after all. She recovered slowly. The neural damage from interfacing with the harvesters was permanent, but not debilitating. She would have headaches for the rest of her life, and sometimes her thoughts felt strange, like they were happening in multiple places at once, but she could live with that. The first human to arrive at Terra Station was an elderly man named David. He was 83 years old and had spent his entire life thinking he was the last of his kind. When he saw Kira, he cried. So did she. More came, young and old, from different corners of the galaxy. Some had known what they were. Others had just felt different their whole lives, never quite fitting in. They gathered in the vault's central chamber, 47 humans seeing their own kind for the first time. It was Kira who gave them the news. She had found it in the archive, buried deep in the medical records. Humans could have children with each other. Their species wasn't doomed to die out. The celebration lasted 3 days, but the galaxy didn't give them much time to celebrate. The new council, the Assembly of Inheritors they called it, wanted answers. They wanted to understand humanity's technology, their history, their culture. More importantly, they wanted to understand how to move forward. Kira found herself representing humanity in ways she never expected. She became an ambassador, a teacher, a bridge between the past and the future. It was exhausting and terrifying and wonderful. Professor Moldar helped her. He had spent decades burying the truth, but now he dedicated himself to revealing it. Together they translated human texts, explained human science, shared human art and music and literature with the galaxy. Not everyone was happy. Some species felt diminished, learning they had been created rather than evolved. Some felt humanity should have stayed dead, that the past should remain buried. There were protests, occasionally violence. But slowly, gradually, people began to accept the truth. 6 months after the vault's activation, Kira stood in what had been the council chamber and was now the assembly hall. Representatives from 247 species sat before her. Some of the faces were familiar. Ambassador Zintara, now the assembly's speaker. Jax representing independent merchants and travelers. Even Serana and Pip, who had become advisors on security and engineering respectively. Humanity made mistakes, Kira said, her voice carrying through the chamber. They weren't perfect. They were just people trying their best in an impossible situation. When the silence came, they didn't run. They didn't hide. They gave everything to save you, to save all of you. She paused, looking around the room. But they didn't want to be remembered as gods or saviors. They wanted to be remembered as friends, as family. They uplifted you not to control you, but to share the universe with you. They died so you could live. And now we have a choice. Kira activated a holographic display. It showed Terra Station, but also something else. Plans, blueprints. The vault contains the knowledge to rebuild human civilization. Technology that could make us powerful, maybe even dominant. But that's not what humanity wanted. They wanted a galaxy full of different voices, different perspectives, different dreams. She gestured to the assembly. So here's what I propose. We share everything. Every piece of human technology, every scientific discovery, every cultural artifact. We don't hold anything back. And in return, you share with us. Your cultures, your knowledge, your hopes. We build something new together. Not a human empire, not alien kingdoms, but a true community of equals. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Ambassador Zintara stood. The Ashuri accept this proposal. One by one, other representatives stood. Not all of them, some remained seated, skeptical or angry. But most stood. Most agreed. It was a beginning. Later, Kira stood in Terra Station's observation deck. It was her favorite place, a curved window that looked out at the stars. Behind her, she could hear children playing. Human children, the firstborn since the silence. Only 3 so far, but more would come. Jax joined her at the window. Credits for your thoughts, he said. Just thinking about the future, Kira replied. About what happens next? Well, you've got humans coming out of hiding. The assembly is actually functioning. The harvesters are protecting shipping lanes instead of destroying them. I'd say things are going pretty well, Kira smiled. Better than expected. You know what the weird thing is, Jax said? I always thought humans were just stories, myths. But now that I know you're real, now that I've seen what you did. He shook his head. You're not what I expected. You're smaller, more vulnerable. You make stupid jokes and cry at sad stories and get scared just like everyone else. Is that disappointing? Kira asked. No, Jack said. It's better. Because if humans can do what they did, save the galaxy, uplift dozens of species, sacrifice everything for people they barely knew, and they're just regular people, that means maybe the rest of us can do great things too. Kira looked at him, this cynical smuggler who had become one of her closest friends. Jax, you helped save the galaxy too. You all did. You risked your lives for someone you barely knew, for a mission you didn't believe in. That's pretty great in my book. Before Jax could respond, Nix's voice came through the station speakers. Kira, you have a visitor. Transmitting video now. A screen appeared showing a woman's face. She was old, maybe 90, with white hair and dark eyes. But those eyes. Kira recognized them. She saw them every time she looked in a mirror. My name is Sarah, the woman said. I'm human. And I think you might be my granddaughter. Kira's breath caught. Family. Real family. Not just species, but blood. Where are you? She asked. On the edge of the Reformation sector. But I can be at Terra Station in 2 weeks, if you want me to come. Yes, Kira said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, please come. Please come home. The call ended. Kira wiped her eyes and laughed, the sound full of joy and disbelief. She had gone from being alone in the galaxy to having a crew, 47 humans and now a grandmother. It was almost too much to believe. She accessed the vault's main archive one more time, calling up humanity's final message. The one they had recorded before sealing themselves away from the silence. A woman appeared, older than Kira but with similar features, the same eyes. To whoever finds this, the woman said, thank you for remembering us. We built the vault not as a monument to our glory, but as a gift to our children, all the children of the galaxy. You are our legacy. You are our hope. You are our dream fulfilled, the woman smiled. Humanity never wanted to rule the stars. We wanted to fill them with life, laughter, and wonder. If you're hearing this, we succeeded. So live well, reach far, and when you're ready, reach back. Help others the way we helped you. Be kind when you can, brave when you must, and always, always curious. The recording paused. Then the woman added one more thing. Welcome home. Kira closed the archive and looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there was Earth, dead and silent. But here on Terra Station, humanity was alive. Small, yes. Vulnerable, certainly. But alive and ready to join the galaxy they had helped create. The The council had mocked her. They said humanity never existed. But she had blinked and the relic recognized her DNA. She had found her people, her purpose, her home, and this was just the beginning. The galaxy had forgotten humanity once. It would never forget again.